Just a play button, yeah?
It's already done. It's already working.
Is it working?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
okay.
it.
Yeah, leave that then.
Hello there everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Virgil, the Virgin Media Vicar, or otherwise as I'm known in the business, Triple V. We've come here to mourn the death and celebrate the life of our former colleague, Mark Bradley. We always ask questions when somebody so young and so vibrant and so full of life dies, and we think, he was so young, he had so much potential, he had a great future ahead of him. So much life to live for, a caring family. And we ask, why, God, why? Why did it happen to someone so young? So today, I will attempt to answer that question. I will start by reading a passage from the Bible. I'm going to Corinthians 13:12. Now we see things not perfectly as in a cloudy mirror, but then we will see things with perfect clarity. All that we know now is partial and incomplete, but then I will know everything completely. Mark never used to go to church. He said it never made any sense. Mark was one of 500 potential applicants for the evolution course. He was then one of 50 interviewed for the job, and eventually selected as one of the 14, the pioneers of the evolutionary course. Mark was thrown into the furnace that was evolution, module after module, challenge after challenge, VILT after VILT, energizer after energizer, and he fell, sadly, at the final hurdle. He died of a phobia. Does anybody here know anybody who's died of a phobia? Has anybody in the room got any phobias? Spiders. Anybody, any idea what the number one phobia is? Offer any guesses?
Presenting.
Good guess. I have a fear as a vicar. I've got a fear of heights. So when I ascend to heaven, I'll keep my eyes very firmly shut. Let me walk you through the hierarchy of phobias. Number 5, myself, heights. Number 4, darkness and twilight. Number 3, spiders and other arachnid creatures. Number 2, death and end of life. Number 1, you're quite correct, Paul, public speaking or stage fright. Yes, Mark died of this phobia. He chose death before he chose to do this presentation. So sadly, Mark will not be with us today. No, he's gone, he's dead, he's finished. No, he ain't doing no public speaking. He fell at the final hurdle. So let's say a little prayer for Mark. In your mercy, turn the darkness of death into the dawn of new life, and the sorrow of parting into the joy of resurrection. As we celebrate the life journey of Mark, Yorkshire Cable to Telewest, Bell Cable Media to Cable and Wireless, onto NTL United Artists, and finally, his final resting place, Virgin Media, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Amen. Where did Mark pick this phobia up from, you may ask? Where did Mark pick this phobia up from?
Where did he pick this phobia up from?
When he was 18, Mark entered the school debating team. He'd never done it before. He was up against Ian van der Merwe. Yes, the notorious Ian van der Merwe, a seasoned veteran of many a debate. In fact, many used to know him as the master debater. Ian tied Mark in knots. He humiliated him in front of the whole school. He never had felt so bad. He just wanted to curl up and die. So now for the big reveal. It's me. Mark the party. Can't wait to see who it is. So I was thrust into the furnace that was evolution. One of the first things I realised I had to do was to really changed my attitude. This was a once in an opportunity in a lifetime. Where did I get my inspiration from? Well, I'd like to let you know it was marshmallows. In the 70s, Stanford University did a study of 7-year-old children. What they asked the children to do was sit in a room with a marshmallow. They were then told that if you don't eat your marshmallow now, you will be rewarded shortly with more. Of all the individuals, 70% of them ate the marshmallow within a minute, and the others waited the full 2 minutes to receive the reward, ending up with the 2 marshmallows. Now, this was a lesson in delaying gratification. All those that didn't eat the first marshmallow went on to live prosperous and happy lives, unlike the ones that wanted instant gratification. And that's what I realised I need to do on this course. What I needed to do was not chase my number. It was a one opportunity that had never come along again, so I put everything I could into the evolution course. So, I'm taking you to ground zero, where I started. I'm now going to walk you through 3 of the modules to hopefully highlight some of the things I contributed to the business, and then possibly give you a conclusion and let you know exactly where I am now. So let's start with the module on influencing skills. Now, we were asked to look at the work of a Dr. Stephen Covey, and the module was about emotional bank accounts. We all have a bank account. It can be either overdrawn or it can be full. Equally, we have an emotional bank account in which we can add to, I like you, you're doing well, love your hair, or you can take away from, ignore them, not sure about that, that wasn't very good. So the intention is, and the module project we were given, was to approach 2 people, put into their emotional bank account. You would have to put in 5 to then receive 1 back in return. The one thing I tried to do on the evolution course was at all times to do a little bit more than was asked. If you asked me to do 1 thing, I would do 2. If you asked me to do 2, in this case, I did 157. So what I did was, I came up with a genius idea. What I was going to do was I was going to use my Facebook account, 157 friends. It was measurable, it was scientific, it was genius. I could put into their emotional bank account by adding likes and smiles and hearts and sad faces, and when the occasion arose, an angry face. But I needed a benchmark to start from, so I took a post that I did in 2017, which started with 21 likes. I would then add into the others' emotional bank accounts and then post the same one 4 months later, in the hope or the intention that my emotional bank account would then be pulled even further. In homage to the Eve, I entitled it Underdogs 157, and I did it in the form of a blog. So the initial starting point was a bowl of risotto. Now, it never ceases to amaze me how us Facebookers can do 21 likes on this, but yet in the same year we have Donald Trump elected, we have births, deaths, marriages, all sorts. I tend to post things about football. In fact, sometimes my wife says, I think you love me, you love football more than you love me, and I said that can't be true, we've been married for 29 seasons now. So, I'm building up an emotional bank account. Now, I'm going to exaggerate this slightly just to give it some dramatic effect. Day 1 I sit down, I've got 157 friends, 37 of which I haven't spoken to for 5 years. Well, they're not really friends, so I delete them. And then look at another 5 people who have shared some of my posts, but have not liked in the process. It's just rude, so I get rid of them as well. Day 2, I'm out on the lash. It's a stag do. I'm on the tequila. I'm happy. I love everybody when I'm happy. I get home, I look at my phone, and I feel really, I shouldn't get rid of those people. Some of them are really nice. So I then pick up my phone. I'm in love. Yes, be my friend, be my friend. Oh, you're their friend of their friend. They're your friend of their friend's friend. You're their friends of their friend. So I sent out 120 friend requests and then took myself safely into the bed. Day 3, I wake up, I look at the phone. I recoil in horror. What have I done? What will people think? I dare open the app. I open it up in the afternoon. I've suddenly got 53 more friends, 27 of which I got rid of the day before, and I'm now up to just short of 200 in total. But then, if you've ever seen a gremlin, they're ugly buggers, aren't they? This is my first grandson, Kate. He was born 2 weeks early. And the wife tagged me in, and suddenly my emotional bank account was drained. She tagged me in the photo, and all these emotional bank accounts where I was accruing good faith with suddenly started liking my posts. So I needed to have a word with the missus. Please don't tag me while ever I'm doing this. I told her while we were at York Dungeons. Within an hour, she tagged me in. She's such a bad witch. Obviously, I was my teenage son, dirty little peasant. And then what am I called, Lucy?
Peasant plucker.
Well done. So it was a great day. So I need to have a word with Kit, stop appearing on my timeline. So I get hold of Nemo in the bath, and I pretend he's talking to him. Don't ever go on your granddad's timeline again. I think he's got the message. In the meantime, I'm adding to bank accounts, likes. Suddenly Kit appears again on my timeline. He's pointing at his dad's watch. Granddad, is it time to come back on the timeline yet? So I'm starting to soften. I think, you've got bloody good looks. Wonder where you get them from. Then I realised time is precious. While ever you're alive, while ever I'm alive, he's always going to be on my timeline. So he's back on. So in the interim, I'm liking, I'm loving, I'm smiling, I'm crying, I'm entering everybody's bank account. And then I repost. And when I repost 4 months later, I go up from 21 to 31 likes with the exact same post. So what I've learned in retrospect, it's damn hard work. It's damn hard work putting into everybody's emotional bank account. And you don't get as much back as you'd hope in return. I've made so many good friends along the way, rekindled relationships with people I haven't spoken to for years. Now I'd like to walk you through business awareness. This was another one that resonated with me. And the beauty of influencing skills was it rippled through every single module that we did. If I could just get you to pass things down.
Thank you.
You've got vehicles. So in business awareness, we were tasked with looking at one of the 4 giants. Obviously, the 4 giants that I was familiar with was sales. So I decided to create a incentive for the whole team with the permission of Mark. Matthew at the time was on holiday for a week, and when he came back, he asked me to join him in the process, but it was quite a lot of work. What I was looking for was an incentive that gave equal opportunity to every member of the team. We have a promotion running at the minute where the salesman of the month goes on a plate, and in 24 months only 5 people have appeared on it. I wanted something that would help and encourage everybody in the team. I wanted something that was teams. In other words, you could build connections that really mattered with your colleagues. I needed something that was different, something that would motivate everyone. And what I also decided was it wouldn't be a monthly incentive, it would be weekly. A month is too long. What I did realise, and I've been in this position myself, if you have a bad start in the first week, your chance of winning Salesman of the Month at the end of the month is very unlikely. But we also need something that had no cost to the business. We were lucky at the time, we were presented with the opportunity to give credits, which is something that had never appeared before. So the reps weren't aware, and we used the credits as the incentive. What was important as well, and something that I've suffered within the organisation, is that I'll win an incentive and then some of the vouchers will appear 2 months later, and I'll go to Mark, what did I get these for, Mark? I wanted it to be an immediate reward. I wanted it to be presented back in a fun and innovative way, and I wanted buy-in from all the members of the team. So we created, at the time, 6 teams, 1 team of 3, and they decided on their own names. As I walked out, there were 3 in the corridor deciding on their name, and I said, I know what I'll call you lot, team losers. Well, it was like a red rat to a bull. Mick turned around and said, shut up, Shrek, what do you know? So I teamed up with Ian Sutton, and we became Sutty and Shrek United. We then had the very posh Waterworth James project, and the not so posh 3 meat and 2 veg. It was an interesting dynamic. Everyone seemed to embrace it. Our hope and intention was that everyone would hit their target that month, but as it unfolded, that never happened. What we did realise was the weaker members of this team fell away quite quickly, but the weaker members of the team were paired with the strongest, so it never affected their morale. What it did do, the ones in mid-table seemed to flourish. They enjoyed it. Suddenly they were in the limelight, suddenly they were winning prizes. They cherished the credits and used them wisely, and only used them for incremental sales. So the criterion changed. We didn't want everybody to do it. We had to change the goal. And when you look at the results on the back page, you'll find that we were number 1 in the whole country. as I like to say, it's number one in the whole goddamn country. The next module was project management, specifically Project Unify. Now you would have all seen the video and wondered it all how we managed to pull it off. And what you saw was actually the fairy tale. What you saw was only the service, and I want to explore it a little bit deeper to walk you through the journey. What you saw was an ugly little frog called FMC, kissed by a beautiful princess, the evolutionaries, turning into the handsome prince, the new FMC, and they walked off into the distance, hand in hand, and lived together happily ever after. That's what you saw. But as you know, having handled projects yourself, it never quite works like this. So from day one, we made a few little mistakes. And there we have Joe, project leader, a brilliant facilitative style, and he really needs to be commended for what he did for Project Unify. So from day one, my title was captain. I was a sub-project manager. My first task was to engage all the stakeholders. So I got my team of 4 together and we started swapping WhatsApp messages and emailed each other. And one of the 4 turned around and said, whatever they say. And I thought, I need to address this. So I went back to influencing schools and looked at SBI. These are the standards we expect, this is the behaviour we expect, and this is the impact on your brand and the brand of Evolution. Within 2 days I had a 4-page email suggesting what we should do with stakeholders. One mistake we made was we made it linear, pass the baton, pass the baton, pass the baton. A lot of these things we could be doing in parallel. We could be doing quality control, while we're doing risk assessment, while we're dealing with the stakeholders. So that was a lesson learned. We then moved on to risk management. Now, when initially the first risk management came through, I thought they thought we meant brisk management. It was next to nothing. So I thought, how will I address this? So I got on to the captain who was dealing with it and said, yes, I've had your first draft, it's brilliant. Can't wait for the finished article. And don't forget, the likes of Peter and Paul and the rest of them will look at this at the end of the project. 3 days later, I got a revised version, which was a lot better and a lot bigger. The next part of the project was the questions. You had to get the questions together. 8 questions, team captain sent it through to me. One of them was wrong, question 7. If you really thought we'd improved, the answer was 1. If you really thought we hadn't improved, the answer was 1. It was just simply the way the question was worded. So I got onto the captain, and the captain said, oh, it's all right, we'll just flip it round. I said, no, because then the answer will be 8. And if you don't like it, the answer will be 8 again. And I said, I'm not prepared to put my name to this. So I used the Brexit clause. If you don't change it, I'm out. Within a day, he came back and he said, we've looked at it, we've redressed it, and we changed question 7. So it was getting more and more difficult as we went into the summer months. People were on holidays, people were logistics, people were all over the country. And we were struggling to tie it together. We were starting to hit a little bit of a brick wall. We were having conference calls, and of the 14, there was only 5 on there, actually on 2 occasions. So I thought, let's go back dip into influencing skills. Let's look at what we can do. There's different ways of influencing people. What I thought was, shall we try the Al Gore approach? Now he uses an investigative approach, a scientific approach, the way he handles climate change. So what I did was I delved a little deeper into statistics. Thomas Edison made 2,500 light bulbs before he got the final version. James Dyson, 5,000 models before he got the right suction on his vacuum. 2/3 of projects never come to completion. He certainly wasn't using the Al Gore method. What about Margaret Thatcher? Let's be a calculator, let's take a chance. She sank the Volgrano. It worked. It was outside the safety zone. But she said, I'm going in, I'm going to take a calculator guess, and the rest of you will just have to come with me. I thought, well, that might be a great idea. Why don't the 4 or 5 of us complete it, and they can come along if they want? But then I also remembered what happened with the poll tax. Yeah, it doesn't work every time. So finally, I thought, let's be Mother Teresa. Let's lead the collaborative style. So I sent out an email to have a conference call on the Friday, and the email went, hi everyone, don't forget I'm Mother Teresa. Great to have a chat on Friday. And let's chat about this. The first thing is, where are we in the minute with Project Unify? Where will we be if we continue on the same line? Where will we be with Project Unify? And where will we be if we change things? What will we need to do to bring this project home? And also, there's going to be 2 guests on the call. So obviously, they're panicking. The chimps shouting at them. 2 guests. It might be Paul. It might be Peter. It might be Lutz. It might be Richard Branson. On the Friday, everyone turned up. The 2 guests were, of course, Lucy and Steve, and a little bit of, healthy conversation. We turned the whole project around. Lucy used the jazz hands motivation, and the rest is history. And that's why on the video you saw the ugly frog, FMC, kissed by the beautiful princess, the evolutionaries, that turned into the handsome prince, FMC, and they walked off and lived happily ever after. So where has this journey taken me? Ground zero to what I did, and how am I different now? And yes, certainly has in a sense been a resurrection. I personally started in the industry 25 years ago. When I was out in the field with Yorkshire Cable, I had a pager. If they wanted me, they used to page me from the office, and I used to go to the call box and return the call. I used to tell customers it's called the information superhighway. At the minute we're using it like a farmyard with a tractor going down it. In the future it's going to be a 200-lane motorway with Ferraris. In the future, all media will merge. Your phone won't be connected to the wall. You'll be able to watch TV and listen to the radio. And I used to sign them up and walk away and look through the window and they'll be looking at each other going, it's a bloody number in. But now I know it's called FMC. Now I know it's called FMC. If you caught me before the beginning of the course, I think I would have said my emotional state, probably like the Pink Floyd song, comfortably numb. I was living within my comfort zone, not really paying much attention to what I was doing. Yes, I was hitting my targets, I was doing very well, but not really thinking outside of the box. I would now suggest that I'm very uncomfortably alive, and that's where it's certainly taken me. I also think Virgin have fulfilled their obligation, as Richard Branson said, train people well enough so they can leave and treat them well enough so they don't want to. And that's certainly the position I'm in at the minute. But it would be very unfair of me to have the last word. During my hunt through Facebook, I met a new friend who I've not seen for years. We call him Ian van der Merwe. Ian van der Merwe, my nemesis, the kryptonite, the one who beat me in the school debate. So we swap stories, and what does he do for a living now? Surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, he's a pastor in a church in KwaZulu-Natal. Yes, still doing public speaking. And I said to him, would you kindly give me a passage from the Bible so that I can explain exactly what I've been doing on the evolutionary course? And it's the exact same passage that I read out earlier that I said nobody really understands. Lucy, would you read that for me? In the style of the Vicar of Dibley, please.
I don't know about that. I don't think she got from the accent. Now we see things not perfectly, as in a cloudy mirror, but then we will see things with perfect clarity. All that we know now is partial and incomplete, but then I will know everything completely.
And now will you interpret that for me, Mark, in the style of Father Ted?
Back off.
For me, it means I can see clearly now the rain has gone, and that's where it's left me at the end of my journey. So I want to thank you all for joining me. I thank you all for supporting me through this journey, and let's be honest, the work begins now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yes, next page.
We've got some questions.
Thank you.
Why now?
How long have you got? It started when I was at Yorkshire Cable. I was offered a living in Leeds at the time, a team leader role down in Sheffield. Ian Handley, Marshall Sharp, that sort of
Handley very well.
yeah, that sort of era. And at the time, my youngest son was diagnosed with autism. He's got severe learning difficulties. He's the age of mental capacity of the age of 3, and very, very, very difficult to handle. And he got to a juncture where I couldn't be employed anymore. I couldn't work for a company. there was always a crisis. I couldn't be in a customer's house and you've got to rush off home and sort it out. So we taught him at home until he was 5. At the age of 7 he went to residential school with 3 consultants from the States. It just completely overtook her life. I started canvassing for the likes of Shopper Check, Provident. I could start and finish when I wanted. It just suited my lifestyle at the time. Then I moved, when I was at Bell Cable Media, there was a young buck called Mark Thomas, I don't know if you know him.
Heard of him?
And I realised he was working down in the Sheffield office. And my son had just left residential school in Birmingham, so for the better part of 14 years, every weekend, I'd travel from Leeds down to Birmingham on a Friday night and pick our Sam up, and then drive up on back down on a Sunday from Leeds back to Birmingham, taking him back every weekend. So it was circumstances, but now he's an adult and he's in residential care. We see him every weekend again, but he's a little bit nearer home in Scunthorpe. And I feel like we've, fulfilled our obligation for him. Heard that Mark was looking for people. Why 5 years? Maybe a little bit like bamboo. It lays under the ground for 5 years. You don't know it's there, but it's building its root system, and suddenly once it starts growing, it can grow 3 foot a day and grow 67 foot high, and that's basically what I've been like.
And you mentioned your wife. What 3
Yes.
words would she say to describe you and why?
Caring, great father. Caring because that's what I am. I'm very much a green. I want everybody in the evolution course to do as well, if not better than me. I'm happy, I'll help everybody and anybody in the group. A loving father because, really, why would you be a father if you weren't? And then it's not one word, but probably a pain in the ass, because, as husbands can be.
Good stuff. Thank you.
What one thing have you learned in the last 12 months that has changed you the most?
I've enjoyed the fact that you've embraced somebody at my age, and I keep trying to tell the other evolutionists that are in the 20s and 30s, this ain't going to come down around every day of the year. So the thing I've learned is it's not too late, really. That's probably the biggest lesson.
Why would people follow you?
As a leader, I think the important thing is that I'm consistent. The message is always the same. I'll always help people. I'll always encourage people. I'll coach people. I'll train people. I'll mentor people. And by doing that, you're pushing into their emotional bank account, really.
And finally, what are your 3 biggest negative traits that you need to work on?
I think, and this is part of the Johari window. I don't think anybody ever done the Johari window. I think one of the things is I don't challenge things enough. I tend to just be quite acceptable of things, and I think there are occasions when there's a validity, if that's the right word, to challenging things, and it's a healthy thing to do. We've had some straight up conversations, me and Mark, while I've been on this journey. And I find it's sort of certainly helped our relationship in terms of where we go. So it's something I'll be trying to do more of, really.
Good.
So that was one. How many do you need?
3.
So we learnt about Dr. Stephen Peters from Sky and the chimp paradox. I don't know if any of you read the chimp paradox, but essentially the human brain is 7 parts, but he says think of it as 3. And the 3 parts of your brain, well, the front of your brain is the most recently developed, and what that is, that's the logical part of your brain, and that's the one you really should be listening to. That's the one that says, don't start your diet next week, start it now. And then the middle part of your brain stems from when we lived in the jungle. And the middle part of the brain he describes as the chimp. And the chimp is what kept you safe in the jungle. It was controlling your fear, your flight. And the other thing is, the chimp is 5 times stronger than the human, and and 5 times quicker. So it takes quite a lot of controlling.
Mhm.
The chimp's neither good nor bad. He's just a chimp. And the third part is the computer, and that's just simply autopilot. It controls your breathing and controls the things that you've learned through your chimp and through your human, driving the car on autopilot, that sort of thing. And I think one of my failings is that I don't listen to my human enough, and I occasionally listen to the chimp. Otherwise I wouldn't weigh 18.5 stone. So that's what my weakness is.
And finally,
Right, you're the taskmaster, you. Must be good. Can only think of 2 so far. I think we're all creatures of habit,
Mhm.
and I think it's very difficult to change your habits. And you know, once again, I think if I was living in a parallel universe, I probably would have changed quite a few things, you know, a long, long time ago. So, like most things, we have bad habits. I phoned the wife on the way home in the hope that it will say, "Get some off the line." Shouldn't do that, really.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mark, I've seen this journey for this last year. We were working on certain things prior to that in one-to-ones where Mark went on Ignite courses. He really enjoyed it and he motivated him. And this has been something that you did say you've embraced it massively. It's become really important.
Yeah.
What happens if there's nothing comes from it or no role? How do you feel?
There won't be nothing come from it. You think of that guy in the coffin that was a flame and you could blow a flame straight out, but you can't blow a fire out. There will be something coming from it.
Good.
Positive mental attitude.
Absolutely. What is the impact that it's had on you, Mark, as a person, Evo?
I think it's been fantastic. I have done courses with Virgin Media before, and I think the one thing that really sets it apart is we spoke about the 70-20-10 rule, the 10% learning in the classroom, and 20% the social environment, and 70% actually doing the damn work. Every other course I've been on tends to be a questionnaire at the end. Did you like this? Did you like that? And as long as you get your 80% on that thing on the PC, then there's never anything comes of it. It's almost a wasted exercise. So what I've enjoyed the most is that really, and that's what it's that's what it's all about.
And what's the impact it's had on you?
As an individual, I know exactly what it's done. It's made me grow up. I've been in customers' houses and I'll say, "So what do you do for a living?" "I'm a lollipop lady." "Oh, do you like it?" "No, I hate it." I said, "I'm just the same." I says, "I also want to still working out what I'm going to do when I grow up." And now, I feel like I've got a path ahead of me. It's going to need a lot of work, but certainly it's something I'm willing to do really. So I would suggest that, at the age of 56, I've finally grown up.
And if you look across the other evolutionaries that we've
Yeah.
had, what do you think your brand is with those